Hi again. Dwight Wilson, Armageddon Now, in his chapter From Sinful Alliance to Christian Realism. This is about the contemplation and speculation about Russia, Germany, and America and their roles in the world in the post-World War II era. This is page 151. Wilson says, after Winston Churchill had tagged the split in Europe the Iron Curtain, Arno C. Gaebelein called it an interesting frontier to students of prophecy because it approximated the dividing line between the Northern Confederacy of Ezekiel and the revived Roman Empire of Daniel and Revelation. Similar statements were made in response to the announcement of the Truman Doctrine in March 1947, which committed America to defend nations against the spread of communism, and the development of the Marshall Plan after June 1947, Russia and her satellites having rejected the plan for the rehabilitation of Europe. With regard to the Truman Doctrine, the Evangel magazine cited a sister publication. Quote, a year ago, effort was exerted to get Russia out of Iran. Now pressure is put forth to keep her out of Greece and Turkey. But Russia is determined to reach the Mediterranean, and if she is blocked through other lands, she may bypass them and come through the Holy Land. End of quote. Under the heading The Menace of Russia, the Evangel spoke of Russia and Eastern Europe's rejection of the Marshall Plan, saying that it was little wonder that anti-God Russia was singled out by God in Ezekiel 38 verse 3. I am against thee, O Rosh. That's the revised version. A week later, it was also pointed out that although worship was professedly tolerated in Russia, no member of the Communist Party was permitted even to believe in God. In view of this kind of concern among premillenarians, the King's Business magazine saw fit to begin in October 1947 a major series of 10 articles by Lewis T. Talbot on Palestine, Russia, and Ezekiel 36 to 39. He based his identification of Russia in Ezekiel 38 on the work of the 19th century German philologist Wilhelm Gesenius, who had no doubt that the Hebrew Rosh was Russia, Meshech was Moscow, and Tubal was Tobolsk. One might well ask if Gesenius and other German scholars had not been writing in an age of intense German nationalism in the post-Napoleonic era following the Treaty of Tilsit, by which Tsar Alexander I and Napoleon had carved up Prussia, would they have been quite as certain about their identification? In discussing the expected Great Northern Alliance, Talbot commented on the defunct Nazi-Soviet Pact of 1939, saying, quote, it only proves that there is nothing far-fetched or impossible in the prophecies about these amazing alliances. End of quote. If it happened before, it could happen again. Similar material had been presented by the Evangel, inciting D. M. Panton's remark in the British premillenarian monthly Dawn. Quote, Gomer is to be a satellite of Rosh in the final invasion of Palestine, again citing Ezekiel 38:6. And Germany is already heading toward that satanic ideal. End of quote. Talbot commented that the aggressive foreign policy that would lead the Confederation into Palestine was comparable to the events of the past year. He analyzed the motives of Russia. Talbot said, quote, the Soviet Union has always been against God, and at the time of the fulfillment of this prophecy, it will form a diabolical expedition to wipe from the face of the earth every last vestige of the worship of God, symbolized first by the Jewish people and then by their promised land with its capital city of Jerusalem. Therefore, judgment, swift and complete, will come upon Gog and all his hordes, because our all-powerful God will himself defend his name, his people, and his chosen city. He will bring irrevocable doom upon all who oppose him in that day. End of quote. In November 1947, the recently established, that is in 1946, magazine Christian Life carried an article, Russia in the News and Prophecy, by Merrill T. McPherson, pastor of the Church of the Open Door in Philadelphia and former president of the Independent Fundamental Churches of America. He categorically stated that the next world war would involve Palestine, and cited former governor of Pennsylvania, George Earle, who had warned that unless America struck the first blow before Russia had perfected her atomic bomb, very likely within 5 years there would not be more than 10% of the American people left. McPherson believed that only the threat of massive atomic retaliation had contained Russia's aggressive plan so far. He concluded by asking, quote, "When will Russia strike? This we do not know, but we do believe that it will be soon, as she judges herself to be capable of making some sneak atomic attacks upon our own great nation. One thing certain, according to God's word, is that one day, perhaps in the near future, Russia will strike." The next time we get into more speculation about the necessity of America's doing a first strike, a preemptive strike upon Russia before this Cold War gets fully embedded in the Western world because of the nuclear potential that other nations would get after America did. I'll put in a link to the quake that shook 2 Jehovah's Witnesses out of the watchtower. This one has to do with Zechariah chapter 14. There's several linked videos, but I'll put the first one on your screen. See you next time.